인생이 굵직해 헬리게 먹어도 챙기세 전나 먹어도 챙기세 배를 댕기에 살야 돼 댕기긴 하울에 나오사 소르고 제득티겐 소르게 맘마트라와 All right, my friends, we are live. Welcome to today's morning power up call. If you can see me and hear me, go ahead and give me a 1 in the chat so I know I've got this thing. Mr. Producer, we gathered together yet again to push out valuable insight to give you all the wake up call, the new perspective, the new insight, the new energy you need to go out and make a ton of money and do a bunch of other cool, fun things too. We do a lot, like money's fun. It's what got you guys through the door, but we do a bunch of other fun stuff too as we move forward and conquer together. But we're going to dive into that lesson and we're going to dive into that insight after we roll the world famous intro.
Boom. You do not have the life that you truly want. If you're not the man you know you should be, it's because of cowardice and cowardice alone. Why is Andrew being so harsh? Because no one else has had the balls to do this through you, and you have allowed yourself to become it. You can conquer the world if you want, and are willing to shift from being a dreamer to being someone who actually makes plans and then makes them happen.
How much longer are you going to wait before you dive in completely full focus at this? How much longer are you going to wait to procrastinate?
All right, win of the day. This one is a fun one. It's from Boyka. Go ahead and read it out. He says, this is a $1,405 win the second half of November. I officially hit my goal of 1K per month, and I've realized how terribly easy it is to hit your goals when you say no to all of the garbage in your life. I'm so ashamed I haven't stepped up before and lived in cowardice for so long. The small win could have been 5 times, 10 times bigger if I had the balls to do the boring work sooner, and I'm pissed off understanding this now. The world belongs to those who go out and apply themselves. Thank you, Professor Andrew, for your guidance, direction, and the resources you give us. You got some screenshots there. Yeah, 1,400 in. Nice, solid win. The biggest win in this message is the realization, because that realization, that understanding is what's going to pay him for the rest of his life. Realizing, okay, all I have to do to push forward and to achieve stuff is really just say no to the garbage and work hard. You'll find that theme repeated over and over and over again in my power up calls, because it's what you guys need to hear and it's what you guys need to do to start pushing forward, pushing the limits of what you've achieved so far so you can start actually making some money and escape the matrix. So guys, go give Mr. Boyka as much power level reactions as possible for the win that he's achieved, both in his bank account, but more importantly, in between the ears. Because it's that's the one. That's the one. When that mindset shift happens, it's just a matter of time until you actually, your bank account reflects it. And then again, this is just a small win. He's on his way up, but I like the insight. So for that reason, I decided to highlight it. I'm coming at you guys a little bit earlier today than normal. We've got some traveling, some wandering to do today.
So needed to come and do this call a little bit earlier. So if you're catching this replay, hi guys, we did the call earlier. You should have gotten up earlier, trained harder, and been ready sooner. But we're going to go ahead and dive into today's lesson. The title of the call is How to Brute Force Your Success. And I'm wearing my Grizzly Bear t-shirt in honor of the topic of the day. I speak with a lot of you who view making money as a game of chance. You're like, oh, well, hopefully I'll get a client this week. Hopefully I'll be able to do this. Hopefully I'll learn this lesson. Hopefully I'll be able to make this amount of money. Hopefully I'll be able to hit my target. Hopefully, bunch of hopefullys, right? Hopefully is perhaps one of the favorite words of those weak in willpower, those who are unaccustomed to brutal, hard work. Hopefully. I hear this so often. It betrays the workings of your mind. As someone who pays attention to human nature, someone who pays attention to words, if I hear certain speech patterns, certain words like hopefully are little red flags that reveal how your brain is actually operating with the system that you're running inside of your brain. So when I hear someone say, oh yeah, hopefully I'll make this happen. And we kind of talked about this a little bit the other day with the whole God willing phrase. But when I hear someone say hopefully, I know that they're not going to make it. I know that they are not going to make it because their mind, they're viewing the game completely wrong. They're viewing all of these things, getting a client, making a bunch of money, as something that is almost completely out of their control. And they believe that it's a matter of chance. It's like rolling the dice or playing a game of roulette. And then they're just hopefully, that they're going to make some money, that they're going to hit their goals. And you guys, a lot of you probably, you sat down, you've done your planning, right? Maybe you're not making this mistake or this committing this sin in such an egregious manner. But let's say you recently sat down, you set yourself a nice 90-day target. You want to make a certain amount of money, hit a certain role inside of the real world, achieve a certain level of success for your client or what have you. You've got a goal, you've got a target, and you put together a plan for how you're going to make that target happen. Now, I know that some of you have done this because I've made this mistake in the past. In the past, a long time ago, when I was a wee child, I would set a target, set a goal for myself, and then I would come up with a plan that I was, in all honesty, just comfortable with. It looked like hard work. It looked like I was doing some level of activity. And I would say, okay, this is my plan to get this target. Hopefully it works. Maybe I would at least whisper that in my own inner dialogue. And I never hit those goals. I never hit those goals the way that I wanted to until I made a shift in how I viewed the game. There's another shot of the ear on the walking power up call. It wasn't until I viewed the game differently that I started to really make money. Started to really be successful in whatever endeavor I undertook, because if you live in a world of hopefullys, if you live in a world where you're afraid of some of the things I'm going to talk about today, you're never going to make it. But once you do flip the switch, once you start to view the world differently, it's going to be significantly easier. Now, I want to cover something for you guys real quick. I know I just checked the chat and someone said, hey, is there anyone in the chat that doesn't already know this? Listen, I'm not going to tell you guys anything new. Just so you know, I'm not going to tell you something that you haven't heard before or doesn't make immediate sense when you hear it. The problem is just knowing it once doesn't make this shift. Being reminded of it, having it jammed into your brain through a new vector, through a new idea, new perspective is what's going to actually make the difference. So everybody in the chat who's sitting here listening, thinking, oh, I know about hard work. I know hopefully it's not how it works. I know you have to overwhelm stuff with hard work. If you knew it for real, you'd be doing it for real and you have a bunch of money, but you don't, because you might know this cognitively, but you haven't quite lived it. You haven't accepted it emotionally. And on these power up calls, one of the things that I do is I twist the knife emotionally. And it's about time we get to that part of the call anyways. Everything like landing clients, like achieving these different things in your life, most goals require some interplay from other people. You're trying to influence other people to do a certain thing. And whenever you do that, there's a certain level of uncertainty, right?
You can't guarantee that if you send one email outreach, it will result in one client. You can't guarantee that if you send 100, it's going to equal 10 every single time, right? You can't always be 100% confident in the math working out. And for that reason, a lot of times people shift into an overly, hey, it's like playing a game at the casino type mentality. In all honesty, marketing, sales, all of the stuff you do is more in your control than you think. The problem is you've only been approaching this with an average level of effort. If, for example, we're talking about landing a client, and I use this example because a lot of you guys are always looking for new, bigger, and better clients. When you're talking about landing a client, if you if you view it as a matter of chance and as a hopefully, you won't try that hard because you believe that the more you try, it's just all up to chance and probably it won't even come back to you. So why try harder because it's all up to chance? You have to shift and take ownership for these things that you think are outside of your control and realize that you can force them into your control if you overwhelm them with an insane amount of effort. For example, if you're trying to get gains in the gym and you're trying to improve your physicality, for example, if you just throw yourself at failure more time, like 10 times more than you are right now, and make sure you back it up with enough nutrition and recovery, you'll grow. You'll grow a lot more than you ever did before. If you're trying to land a client and you sent out 10 emails a day or 10 outreaches a day because that's what you thought kind of made sense and probably hopefully would work. If you shift to going to 200 a week, if you go to 400 a week, you've taken sort of the chance out of the equation. You've said, no, I'm going to make it happen. Like, not like, oh, hopefully it works out. Hopefully I get, no, you can make it happen. You can brute force it. You can say, I'm just going to do so much work, so much activity. I'm going to do so much that I'm guaranteed to get the result. You can overwhelm these little tasks, these little objectives with an insane amount of work. The only problem is you guys are a bunch of babies. You guys are a bunch of babies wandering around complaining about a significant amount of work. I picked this metaphor for a very important reason. I'm a father. I have 3 children. My youngest is a daughter. She's about a little under a year. And babies, as you may know, you weren't born with all your teeth poking out of your gums. At some point, teething occurs, right? And a bunch of parents complain about teething because it's tough on them because they're a bunch of babies too. But here's when a baby starts teething, there's usually, and you were like this probably as a little baby, probably whined a bunch, cried a bunch. You were very, very uncomfortable as these teeth started to poke out of your baby gums. I read somewhere that the amount of pain that a baby experiences when they're teething is actually not that it's not that much. Like on a grand scale of things, like on a grand scale, teething doesn't actually hurt that much. It's just the most amount of pain a baby has ever felt in their life. And because they have no other reference point, they think that little bit of pain when they're teething is a big deal. So they whine and they complain as it's just is what it is. That's what babies do, right? They learn about life while they get some teething in. You guys are approaching this like a bunch of babies. There's so many things under your control, whether that's the bank account, whether that's the success for your clients, the success for different marketing projects you run, especially with all the results and the resources, the tools I give you here in the Copywriting Campus, inside the real world, opportunities to network, interact, learn from extremely intelligent and successful people. You have all of that. You have targets in front of you. And they're actually the amount of work that you have to do, the difficulty involved, it's not that hard in the grand scheme of things. It's not that bad. There's no artillery fire. You're not having to close with the enemy and twist the knife inside of his guts. It's not that hard. You don't have to risk your life. You don't even have to. You don't burn that many calories. It's actually pretty freaking easy. It's not even that hard cognitively. You've just never done anything hard in your life before. So everything that you have to do now seems like a lot of work. And because you've never done an insane amount of work, you've never gone grizzly bear mode and just attacked something and forced it to happen with sheer volume of work and tenacity. Since you've never done that, the first 3 or 4 times you try and do that, you tentatively stick your toe into doing a lot of hard work. It feels like a bunch of pain. You say, no, man, I'm going back to hopefully. Whine and complain like a little baby, their teeth. You guys are just there, gumming it up. No teeth, no financial success, no results, because you're scared of a bunch of work. You're scared of saying, no, I'm going to force this to happen.
You're a bunch of babies. You're a bunch of babies when it comes to this, and you got to change quick. You got to just realize the pain and the difficulty that you think you're going to have to go through to make a bunch of money in the copywriting campus or in any form of starting your own business or growing it. You're going to look back on it in about a week and a half and realize that you were just being a big, fat baby. And you're going to shake your head and be like, man, if I just buckled down and worked harder, if I just said no to the garbage, like our win of the day, a little sooner, I probably would have hit this goal like, 3 days into being inside the real world. So my friends, you all have targets and you've all got these nice little comfortable, maybe, hopefully plans that sure, hopefully, maybe might work out. And if that's good enough for you, then that's good enough for you. Stick with it, my friend. Enjoy the world of being a little baby mentally, scared of pain, scared of a little bit of difficulty, while the rest of us who want a little bit more out of life, who want to stand upright and walk proud and happy with what we have achieved and what we are achieving, what we are pushing forwards to claim for our own. If you want that, like me, then I implore you now to embrace a more aggressive plan where you increase the risk, you increase the level of effort, and you brute force the success that you want. You can make it happen. It is within your power if you are willing to summon up just a little bit of tenacity. My friends, my brothers of the sword and the pen, we all have a lot of work to do today. I've got some miles to cover, some minds to change, some work to do. You have a lot of work to do as well. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and let's go out. Let's get it. Let's conquer. I want to turn you into a monster today and unleash you on the world. Achilles! You run on courage, love, and God. No mercy! We will win.